Hi everybody, welcome to my channel where I talk about narcissistic relationships. And I am here in my home tonight. If you hear anybody, my son is upstairs, and we are practicing social distancing, which has been kind of weird. We haven't really been around each other, but he is upstairs, so if you hear something, then that's probably who it is. So I apologize ahead. If you would like, you can subscribe to my channel, and you can do that by clicking the button below, and I would really appreciate it. And if there's ever anything here that might help you or help someone else, or you think that might help someone else, it'd be nice if you would like and share. So I am just here to support you guys and bring information. A lot of information is just stuff that I already have been through and recognize it, and also was in a narcissistic relationship that I knew for a positive 100% fact. So I lived through that for quite some time, and so I come with some experience with that. And I've talked a little bit about my story, and I think I have on this page and some other pages, and I will continue to do that a little by little on YouTube, so you'll get to know a little bit more about me as we go, because I do find it quite uncomfortable when I speak about myself, but I'm doing it because I want you to know that you're not alone, and that other people go through it, and it seems like we're going through it by ourselves, but there really is a lot of other people that go through these things and feel like they're alone too. And so I think it's nice to be able to come to YouTube and find people who have experienced a lot of the same things that you have. I'm coming from a different angle. Everybody's channels are a little bit different. So I wanted to just I did a video and it didn't download. I'm having the hardest time sometimes with that. So I'm praying to goodness that this one does, and I'm just going to wing it and just do a completely different video. I am self-quarantining, so I feel like it's just easier to just ramble on. So I wanted to talk to you about some things that I noticed when I was in my narcissistic relationship that I found quite interesting. And for a long time, I didn't know what I was dealing with. And then there was a time when I did. And to see the shift was kind of scary and sad. And I had a lot of emotions around it. And so I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit, because I was with a covert narcissist, and that is also called a vulnerable narcissist. So I have a video where I've talked about that, and if you've seen other videos or recognize that in other places, they are not talked about as much. The extrovert or the overt narcissist is the one that most people think about, and those are the ones that you see, trying to get all the attention, always have to be right. They're maybe the ladies' man, or the woman who picks up all the guys, whatever it is, where we look at them and go, wow, they're so a narcissist, or have high narcissistic traits. And when people look in the DSM and they're looking for traits, that's who they usually are seeing and recognizing is the overt narcissist, because they don't really talk about the covert and vulnerable narcissist in the DSM, and I believe that that's going to change in time from my understanding. So I was with a covert narcissist, and he was good at it. I noticed certain things that didn't feel right, but because I'm such a nurturer, I just felt like he just needed to be nurtured, and so I took on that role. A lot of my friends and family could see things that I couldn't see, and they were trying to convince me, but what that was doing was isolating me more and more away from them, and I was getting more into the clutches of this particular relationship that I was in. And I really felt quite content in that relationship, but so many things happened in that relationship that I learned so much from, and I know that that particular partner did as well. for different reasons, but there are things that happened within that relationship that I did notice, especially after I knew what was really going on. So, one of the things that I noticed is once I became more aware of what was going on with him, and he as well did because he was going to a behavioral therapist, we were triggering each other, and he was definitely being triggered in a different way. And I think that me knowing more might have triggered him even more, but I think him going to therapy and having to deal with some of those things was really triggering him. And I think it really affected him in a way where he lashed out and projected all of that onto me. And I wasn't going to be the person that could help him. And I was realizing that where things had kind of been going along somewhat smoothly. We had some hard times, but at times, but the more he got into that therapy, which is something that I had suggested and had hoped for better stuff to come from it. And I'm sure that it did. It's just not necessarily for me and for our relationship. It was so triggering, and he was literally, I think he was dealing with things he didn't really want to deal with, and he was being forced to recognize certain things, and I was just triggering him. So he would, or his therapist was really triggering him, and he would project it out onto me. So there were things that I just didn't understand. It's like, why are you so angry at me? How many times have you been with a narcissistic person and all of a sudden, I mean, things can be going along great, you think, and then the next minute they are flipping out on you. And you're like, what just happened? I don't understand. Like, okay, and you're almost silenced. I don't know. Everybody's got a different personality. Some people will lash back out. And over time, like, I can get mouthy and be like, you know, whatever, asshole. You know, where I would try not to say that for a really long time. And then later it's like, you know, I'm over it. You treat me like crap. And so you just start to almost pick up their traits and act like them. And then other times you're just really silent because you're walking on eggshells and you're like, I don't know what's coming next. I don't know why they're upset with me. And the more you ask, the more agitated that they get, and they can't explain that to you. I remember this guy. I would try to get him to talk to me about his feelings, and that was just, they don't like to do that. They don't want to deal with that kind of stuff, and it's agitating. They'd rather get away from you and talk to somebody else who's going to make them feel really great, or do something else that's going to make them feel really great, because whatever, and they don't understand, but in that moment you are agitating them, and they know that, but they probably don't have, well, from my understanding, don't have that cognitive way of figuring out that, hey, look, there's something else deeper going on, and it's not actually probably the person that's sitting in front of you, and you're just projecting everything onto them and dumping all the ugly onto them so that you feel better. And it makes you feel like crap, and so then you are asking, you know, what can I do to make things better? And this is, it can be annoying to them, but they like good, as long as you're giving them attention, they like that. It's when you ignore them that they don't like that at all. So, I mean, well, nobody likes to be ignored, you know, because that means you're insignificant. And one thing that a narcissist will do, because they know that, is they are masters at giving the silent treatment or ghosting you. It is one of the number one things that will come up when you are talking about a narcissistic person. That and gaslighting. Flying monkeys, pretty much all of it. But gaslighting and the silent treatment are huge. And they know they don't like it. It really bothers them. So they know how bad that feels for them, and they're masters at doing it to other people. And it does. It doesn't feel good for anybody. But when you are someone that is in a relationship with a narcissistic person, you're wanting to get resolve. and they can leave you hanging for a long time with no resolve. They don't care. They really don't care. They want you to miss them. They want you to pine for them. And if they're a narcissistic person, they will do that to you. They will make sure that they do that to you. And that is a clue for you that they are. I know for myself, I will try to give somebody the benefit of the doubt 100,000 times. Like, please, God, no, they're not this way. I know the signs, I know the traits, I know how it goes. Please don't let it be this way, because we attract people like that. If you're a really good person and you are bright and shiny and somebody that's a giver and someone who's a forgiver, then they are very attracted to you for a while, and they don't really want you to completely disappear forever, but they think that in the moment. But really, they don't. But the problem is they will only come back to you if they have nobody else. And they know that you're a good person and that you will probably forgive them and listen to them. And I'm finding that in my journey a little more difficult with some people to just say goodbye forever. I mean, I've gotten a lot better, but there are some people in my life that I'm like, wow, so, and I don't want them to be what I talk about either. So I try to always find excuses. But anyway, there's another thing that you may notice if you've been in a relationship with a narcissistic person, and that is they can turn into someone else at the drop of a hat. So I had a relationship with someone, and I, to this day, don't know what upset him. But I know that we were supposed to be hanging out, and he invited me. It was always something like, it's like, you invited me to do this, and now like you're being a jerk to me. And he was so angry, and he was just staring at me like it was like he wanted me to die with his eyes. And I was like, I may have said this on another video, but his eyes went black, and he had the brightest eyes, but they went black. It was like his pupil just got really big, and his eyes were black, and the look on his face. And if you knew this person was like the sweetest looking person, and oh gosh, he just didn't look like he could ever be an evil person, but that was inside him. And when it came out with a vengeance. And it took years for me to see that side. And it was devastating when I did. But I remember saying to him, you look like the devil. What? Like what? I was trying to have a conversation and rationalize with him, which I didn't know at the time was doing me zero good. And I was trying to get some resolve, which at the time I didn't know was doing me zero good. And he was just giving me this look with his eyes. It was really freaky. And I mentioned it, and I said, you look like the devil right now. What? And he was like, maybe I am. And I was like, and he looked so mean. It was really weird because I had never seen that on him. It was like a completely different person. It was like as if everything about him shifted. His body language, his face looked different. It was really weird. I actually thought that he had, what is it called? Is it DID? Dissociative personality disorder? DPD? I don't know. Anyway, I thought he had that, and I really did, because it was like I would be dealing with different people. And when I would say that to him, he would even say to me, especially when he was in therapy, he was like, well, it's like you kind of are. And, we were both kind of learning on our way. But you may notice some things like that and have these weird conversations. Like you could have, like all of a sudden, it's like talking to someone different. But another thing that I noticed with this particular relationship that I was in, that I loved this person. When I tell you I loved this person, or I thought I did, like more than anybody I have ever been with in my entire life, ever. There's only been one other person that came very close, but this person, it was like, nobody could touch it, he would watch me, and he was always fascinated with watching me. And he would say things like this, does this make you happy? He wanted to know what made me happy. And I think it wasn't necessarily because he wanted me to be happy. I think it's because he wanted to know what would make other people happy so he could do that with other people. He would know, he was learning what was acceptable and what wasn't. And so he would watch me and watch my reactions to things, whether I was crying, laughing, smiling, looking at things intently, things that would, he really was learning a lot from me in that way. And I was learning a lot from him, but it was just two different ways of learning and different reasons. And it was quite interesting. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to get over before in my entire life. I never thought I would get over it. I'm still triggered today sometimes by it, but not as much anymore. But CPTSD is real. And it's not just because of that relationship that I get that, but I do sometimes. But this particular relationship, because I learned so much and he was so open with me in so many ways, I do think back on it a lot, because he, even though he had certain things going on with him, he didn't really know what was going on with him either, and I didn't really know what was going on with me and the relationship and him. And so we were kind of falling through it together because of the therapy. But eventually there was no way we could be around each other, and we had to basically be apart from each other, and we have been until this day. However, I have so much within that relationship that I learned so much from. And so I'm just curious, have you ever noticed the stare? And have you ever noticed that they seem like they're a completely different person? They can literally be one way with you one night, and the next morning you wake up and they're completely different. Have you ever felt uneasy, like where you were in the relationship with the person and you're thinking everything is going really great and you're really happy, and you're like, oh, this is the most amazing relationship ever. And then the very next day, something happens and all of a sudden you're feeling just a little like off. And it's because of the yo-yoing, and it starts out kind of small, and you question yourself, like, am I just being paranoid, or am I just, this is just how it always goes, and you're just insecure, or is something really happening here? Your gut is right. Your gut is right, because they do test you too. They'll test you to see how much you can put up with and how much you'll take. And someone like me can take a lot, because I resonate a lot. A lot of us do, but I'm an empath. So if you're an empath, you feel things that other people feel. And so you can resonate on a different in a different way, other than just being empathic. And so, because I kind of understood, I could feel certain things from them, and I'm a nurturer and I care, I thought I could do something to help and make things better, and vice versa. But it never has worked out that way. So you can try as much as you want to, but I hate to say it, most of the time you're going to be disappointed. We need to go on our journey and work on ourselves and figure ourselves out to find the perfect person for us. And that person is out there. They're waiting on you. They're doing the work, and they're waiting on you. There's somebody waiting on me. So anyway, until then, we're not alone. I'm here for you, and vice versa. I love to get comments, and I would love to know if you've ever noticed that glare, that stare. If you've ever noticed that they change. It's as if a completely different person takes over in their body. I'm really curious. Until next time, this is Jennifer. Bye.